Hi, my name is Beth, and you're listening to the Canna Fitness and Nutrition Podcast, where we are hanging out at the intersection of fitness, nutrition, and cannabis. Thanks for pressing play today. Welcome back. If this is your first time, I'm Beth, your personal trainer and cannabis educator. And today we're going to talk about the role that CBD plays in the Munchies, because this is a really important aspect. Now, let me back up a sec. If you've been following along, you know that we've been talking a lot about the Munchies because there's so much I want you to know. As a personal trainer for almost 20 years, I help people get strong, I help people lose weight, and the more I work with cannabis users, the more I hear about the Munchies and how frustrating that is because whether you're working with me or working on your own at the gym or another trainer, maybe you're doing Peloton or an app, you're working hard to work on your body, right? You're working on your body. You might have a weight loss goal. Maybe you're just trying to feel good about your maybe you're just trying to feel good about yourself in a tank top this summer, or you really want your shorts to fit when you pull them on this summer. Whatever the reason is, I know you're working hard, and I know that the Munchies are frustrating you because you feel like it's causing you to overeat or choose unhealthy snacks, right? It tends to make us want unhealthy snacks, and you're frustrated that you're choosing chips over a banana, right? You're frustrated that it's causing you to finish the bag of chips, right? Instead of just having a couple. And that's what I want to continue to talk about. I know we've been talking about it for the last few weeks. I've been writing a lot about it on my Substack. And if you've grabbed a copy of the Munchie Myth, my ebook, then you've probably already seen this. If you haven't yet, little plug here for my ebook. It's free and it's about 20 pages. It's not too hard to read. And it just explains what the myth of the Munchies is, which is that while cannabis does heighten sensations and it does make food more appealing, some of it, then it doesn't cause you to overeat, right? It doesn't cause loss of control. That's the myth. And it was funny because last week we were watching Big Bang Theory, which funny show, super funny. Josh had never seen, my husband had never seen it, so we're rewatching it from the beginning, and it's hysterical. So there was an episode last week that I don't know, season 3 maybe, and the guys go camping in the desert or wherever they live, in Los Angeles, probably somewhere. So anyway, long story short, someone gives them some brownies maybe it's cookies, that are laced with weed. And then it goes into this whole scene about how the guys go absolutely bonkers and are starving to death and are just like trying to take down the Boy Scouts at the next campsite. They're digging to the bottom of their cooler to see if there's any food. They're like starving. They look like they're going to die. They look like they're on Survivor is what it is. They take off their shirts and they make this whole big thing about how hungry they are. And that is part of the myth. That's the superstition or the stereotype that cannabis causes this insane, insatiable hunger that you just cannot control yourself around food. And that's not at all true. Cannabis heightens sensations. Cannabis will heighten sensation of hunger, right? Will heighten the sensation of fullness, will heighten the sensation of pleasure, will heighten the sensations of taste, flavors, all of those things. That's what it does. So we know that, so we can work with that to manage any munchies that come on, right? And just real quick, I'll go over the tools and then I'll talk about CBD. So one, because we know that cannabis can do that, right? We can plan and prepare for that, right? By making sure that you're not going into your session hungry. Because if you are hungry, like say you didn't eat all day, or you skipped a meal, or you're trying to be really good because you're working hard at the gym, right? And you're trying to eat really light all day, and then you're saving yourself, maybe you're saving room for your munchies, or you're saving room for dessert, you're saving room for dinner. I know a lot of people eat super, super light all day and then try to have like one big dinner. And your body wants to catch up with that. Like your body wants to be fueled sustainably like all day long. So when you starve it, it eventually catches up with you. And sometimes that can exacerbate the munchies. So you're going into your session already hungry, and then the munchies exacerbate that. So if you're fueled, you can just go back and say, oh, I'm actually not hungry, right? Because you still have your wits about you. That's the thing about cannabis that I love, is you're not out of control. It's not like when you're drunk, which, you just feel like you have no control. With cannabis, and if you're a user, you know this, like you still feel like you have control over your body, over what's going on, right? This is sometimes why cannabis users think they can drive, because you feel like you have control over everything. Anyway, so that's one way that we can plan for the munchies. The other way is we can just have healthy food ready, right? Just say to yourself before you consume cannabis, like, hey, if I am hungry later and I want to snack, here is a bowl of grapes, a bowl of yogurt, a bowl of popcorn, pick one, but healthy foods, right? So you have that ready to go. But here's the science trick. Those are like behavioral, psychological tricks. But when it comes to cannabis science, the trick is to have balanced cannabinoids. And what I mean by that is that most people are out there using high THC. I spent a lot of time in dispensaries last year, and everybody comes in looking for the highest percentage of THC. And all that does is make the sensations greater. So it's going to exacerbate munchies even more, right? It's going to tip you towards that loss of control. And it's just going to make the symptoms worse, because that's what THC does. Cannabis is what's called biphasic. So at higher doses, the effects can actually worsen. That's why a lot of people get really anxious if they take too much, or some people take it at all, right? And it can make you anxious because more makes the effects worse, right? Whereas less is not as strong, which actually feels better in your body. Also, THC is just one part of the plant. It's the part of the plant that's intoxicating, which is why people like it, which I get. I love it too. But there are other important components to the plant, namely CBD. Now, CBD, it's just so fascinating how the plant works, right? Think of it like this, like a plant itself, like visualize a plant growing maybe in your yard, right? Or in a pot. And the plant itself has THC and CBD already in it. So when we consume it, we want to capture both aspects. But now that's grown in nature. The way we grow and the way we consume cannabis today is we're breeding the plant to have higher THC quantities than CBD quantities, because that's what sells. Right? That's what sells. That's why when you see products, they are bragging about their high THC content. It's all high THC. Very rarely do you see balanced products in a dispensary. I mean, there's some, but it's just not as common. I think people overlook them too, because not everybody understands what CBD does. CBD balances the plant. That's why the plant's a beautiful thing, right? Because it is a balanced product. And CBD enhances THC in some effects, certain effects, right? But it also counteracts it in certain effects. And as I studied the plant, what was glaringly obvious to me was that, because it depends on how they attach. So THC attaches to certain receptors that can stimulate and heighten sensations like hunger, okay? CBD does not bind to the same receptors as THC. It binds to different receptors, and those receptors have the opposite effect. Right? It actually can suppress appetite. It does the opposite, right? So it is completely different effect in that circumstance. There are some circumstances where they work together beautifully. So CBD is an anti-inflammatory, and THC is known for its pain reduction. So if you take those together, now you're getting anti-inflammatory and pain reduction. See how they work together? And that makes an even more potent product, right? A more potent relief for you. But in the case of the stimulation of hunger and sensations when it comes to eating, taste, pleasure, that aspect, while THC can heighten those, CBD works the opposite of that, and it blunts that sensation. So what I'm saying is that balanced products, so if you're like an edible person or like you like the drinks, look for products that have CBD and THC in them, because that's going to stop the connection to those hunger sensations in your body from the THC, so that you can still feel high, but not have the cravings, right? Okay, so that is the cannabinoid science. So my big thing is really just encouraging you to try balanced products. It's really hard to find flower these days that is balanced because, again, they breed it now, unless you were to go in the wild and do it that way. But they're breeding them separately. So what I do is I buy THC flower, and then I also buy CBD flower, right? Which can be bought online right now. It's really easy. There's tons of great farms out, especially out west, and they ship it right to you, and it's great fresh flower, but it's CBD flower. So when I like to inhale just because it's quick and it wears off quick. You can combine both flowers when you inhale, right? I have a dry herb vape, you probably heard me talk about, that I can put the flower in a little oven and then heat it up. And that's exactly what I do, is I put a little bit of THC and a little bit of CBD and inhale it together, right? So that I get a balanced effect. And that right there alone will stop the munchies, right? So that's definitely something I encourage everyone to try. The other thing that kind of goes with the cannabinoid science is your terpenes, right? Terpenes are getting a lot more attention now, and they are a big deal. I want to make sure I don't make them out to be some sort of savior, because they're not a savior, but they are a large piece of the puzzle. So especially when you're inhaling, terpenes don't really have an effect when you use edibles, because they just kind of get lost in the process of making edibles. But if you are inhaling, then you want to look at the terpenes that you're using. There's a few that are really known for heightening the sensations of hunger and the appetite sensation, and the taste and pleasure and all that you get from food. So myrcene is a bad one. It's a culprit, right? Myrcene is an offender, we'll call it. Like caryophyllene, that's an offender. Most of the time, everybody reacts slightly different to terpenes, but most people, I say, especially myrcene, that one is a great offender. So if you're smoking something high in myrcene and you're getting the munchies, that might be why. So you might want to look at trying a flower that has a different terpene profile, right? There's a terpene called humulene, which is actually showing appetite suppressing components. So if you're really struggling with the munchies, one of the things I would do is look at your cannabinoid balance. I would look at pairing your THC with CBD, and I would look at your terpene profile. And I would say, okay, well, let's make sure you're not using myrcene. If you really struggle with the munchies, let's kick out the myrcene, and let's find you some strains that have humulene in it, right? Or pinene, or something that's a little more non-stimulating in that respect. And that can make a huge difference. The effects, it's amazing when you switch strains and switch terpene profiles, how different it feels. The fun part, I think it's fun, is with cannabis, is it's so user dependent, meaning how you feel might be different than how I feel. Right? Because everybody's body's different. So it works with your chemical makeup differently than it works with my chemical makeup. We're creating, the more people talk about it, and the more research that's done, and the more we share, then the more generalizations we can conclude things like this, right? because there's not a lot of research out there. And a lot of people are afraid to talk about it because of the cultural stigma, right? Or legal implications. So let's share. Let's talk about the terpenes and how they make you feel. Let's talk about cannabinoids and how they make you feel. Now, I would be remiss if I didn't mention THCV. THCV, as in Victor, is a non-intoxicating cannabinoid. Now, that's confusing because it says THC, but it will not make you high. It acts like CBD, okay? Now, the cool thing about that is that they are slowly researching it, and it is showing, similar to CBD, appetite-suppressing responses. So it's not binding to the same receptors that THC does. It binds similarly to CBD, and but it's its own cannabinoid, which is pretty cool because I like to think that Mother Nature has this all figured out and we're just now figuring it out already. So THCV will suppress your appetite, and companies are noticing, right? This is emerging. This is kind of gaining momentum, but I'm seeing products that are THCV supplements so that you can curb your appetite and you can suppress your appetite. So, I mean, my opinion would, because it's not intoxicating, you can use it as an appetite suppressant, sure, but if you like THC, then let's add THCV to your THC. I have seen a couple products out there that are that exact. Couple drinks I saw, and I've seen some edibles at the dispensary that are THCV combo with THC. And that's essentially similar to a CBD and THC combo. It's going to be slightly less intoxicating. You'll still feel high, don't worry. But it's going to cut off some of the effects of THC, namely the appetite effects, right? And the unwanted effect of the appetite, if that's a struggle for you. So I just wanted to put that out there because there is some really important cannabinoid science behind the Munchies, and there are some really simple ways that we can manage the Munchies by playing with your cannabinoids and your terpene profile. This is exactly what we're going to do in my Munchie Makeover program, which is 4 weeks with me, where we're looking at your munchie pattern. We're figuring out what's going on. Is it because you're not eating enough during the day? Is it because of too high THC and not enough balance? Is it because you don't have healthy snacks available? And we're going to make a plan, right? We're going to make a plan for you, and we're going to implement it, and I'm going to hang out with you until it sticks, right? So you get 4 weeks. You get 4 weeks of my support so that you can actually make these changes, try different products if you want, make some plans with healthy munchies, and really see the change in your life, right? This isn't a story with a bad ending. This is a story with a happy ending. The munchies are annoying. I get that because, I get that you're working hard. I mean, working with clients every day, I know how hard you're working, and I know you want to feel good in your body, and I know you love cannabis, but the munchies are frustrating you. So let's play with your fueling during the day. Let's play with your cannabinoid balance. Let's try different terpene profiles, and let's plan healthy munchies, and it'll completely change the game for you. So if that's of interest to you, then go ahead and send me a message. It's Beth@cannafitnessnutrition.com. You can catch me on Instagram. I'm Beth_cannafitnessnutrition. And I would love to hear from you. I'd also love to hear if you have a particular terpene profile or cannabinoid balance that you like a 1-to-1 or a 2-to-1 or something that's working for you. I would love to know that. The more we talk about this, guys, the more we're going to be able to help other people. And cannabis users, as you know, aren't always forthcoming. They're often shy, is what I'm trying to say. Often shy about sharing because of the stigma, right? And because you're not sure how people are going to react. Well, with me, you can tell me all the things, and I love to hear it. And I'm here to, let's talk about it. Let's fix it all together. All right, enough from me today. Enough from me. Have a great day, a great week. Don't forget to let me know if you want the Munchie Myth, a Munchie Makeover. Tell your friends, and I'll see you next time.